At exactly 8:17 in the morning, a porcelain coffee mug slips from your hand. But it doesn't hit the floor. Instead, the liquid separates into perfect spheres that hover in the morning light. At that same moment, every gravitamer on the planet, machines capable of detecting the slightest change in Earth's pull, drops to zero. There is no sound, no explosion. Buildings remain on their foundations, and the air stays breathable for now. For a few minutes, the world feels remarkably still. People begin to drift. Objects lift off tables. It looks like a magic trick on a global scale, sparking a brief, confused sense of wonder before the implications settle in. For billions of years, life has operated under a single, unspoken contract with the Earth. We have spent every second of our lives trusting that the ground will catch us. This silent peace is an illusion. Gravity is the invisible architect of our physical reality, and in its absence, everything from the structure of our cities to the behavior of our atoms begins to fail. The first crisis is internal. Without gravity, the fluids in the human body no longer settle toward the feet. This diagram illustrates the shift in hydrostatic pressure. Blood and interstitial fluid migrate toward the head and chest. Within minutes, faces swell, the inner ear's sense of balance vanishes, and a wave of nausea hits nearly every person on Earth. Outside, the mechanical world stops functioning. Cars and trains are designed to use gravity to press tires and wheels against the ground. Without that weight, steering becomes impossible, and the slightest bump sends thousands of vehicles tumbling into the air. Aviation collapses entirely. Airplanes generate lift to counteract weight. With no weight to pull them down, planes become uncontrollable, climbing or spinning toward the upper atmosphere with no way to ever land on a runway again. Our technology and our anatomy were both optimized for a world with a constant downward pull. When that pull vanishes, we are left with bodies and machines that are no longer suited for the environment around them. You might expect the oceans to immediately dissipate into a fine mist, but liquid physics in a weightless environment is far more unsettling. Intermolecular cohesion keeps the water together. Massive, miles-wide spheres of seawater begin to lift off the ocean floor and drift into the sky, held together only by their own surface tension. Sharks, whales, and entire coral reefs are swept up in these drifting aquatic islands, biological systems suddenly separated from the planet they belong to. Above the floating oceans, the atmosphere itself begins to leak. Gravity is the only thing anchoring our air to the surface. Without it, the pressure holding the oxygen together starts to relax into the void. Over several hours, the barometric pressure drops. The blue sky fades to a deep, bruised purple, then to black as the stars become visible in the middle of the day. Every breath becomes harder to take. The resources required for life, water and air, stayed on this planet for eons, not because of a container, but because of a force we can't even see. On a cosmic scale, the solar system begins to dismantle. Without gravity's continuous pull, the moon's trajectory becomes a straight line into deep space. Every other planet suffers the same fate. Without the sun's anchor, orbits break and planets drift into interstellar darkness. Deep within the Earth, the loss of pressure causes the planet's core to expand. The internal balance shifts, triggering rogue volcanic activity that vents from the crust. At the same time, the magnetic field weakens. Solar radiation begins to bombard the thinning atmosphere, creating sky-spanning auroras of green and violet that cover every continent. The cosmic dance that has lasted for 4 billion years ends. Our world is no longer part of a system. It is a lone rock traveling through a cold, silent void. At exactly 8:17 the following morning, without any warning, a child's toy block suddenly falls and hits the floor. Gravity returns with a violent impact. The colossal floating oceans suddenly collapse, crashing back into their empty rock basins. The escaping atmosphere is rapidly pulled back against the crust. Millions of people are pinged flat back to the ground. Survivors lie motionless on the grass and the pavement. They aren't just resting. They are feeling the weight of their own bodies with a sense of profound, tearful relief. It takes decades to clear the scattered debris and rebuild the shattered coastlines. The physical scars on our cities eventually fade into history, but the collective memory of the weightless day remains the defining event of human history. For the generations that follow, the world feels very different. They notice a backpack's heavy drag, the way rain falls straight down, or the simple act of standing. It is no longer a reflex, but a constant reminder of our connection to the planet. We rarely acknowledge the invisible forces that hold our lives together until they are gone. Gravity was always there, the silent hero of every heartbeat and every ocean, proving that the most important foundations of our world are the ones we take for granted.